Benjamin Franklin is credited as saying, if you fail to plan, you are planning to fail. And what I've found is that there are a lot of guys out there that say they're prepared, that say that they are ready, when indeed they are not, because they've never really put a plan together. So today I want to share with you my plan for prepping, and this is a plan of threes. I think it'll really help you. Men in the Arena Army, I salute you. Hey guys, thanks for listening to this episode of the Men in the Arena podcast. I'm Jim Ramos, your host and guide of Spotify's #1 podcast for Christian men, and your guide to the best version of you inside that stress bubble of life and beyond. So today, guys, I want to talk to you about actually being prepared, of doing things that prepare you for the pending, I hate to use the word disaster, the pending opportunity in your life to serve those you love and to help others in need. Again, Alfred Henry Lewis between 1896 and 1906 said this: "The only barrier between us and anarchy is the last 9 meals we had. There are only 9 meals between mankind and anarchy." And man, didn't we see that? Didn't we see that during COVID-19? Don't we see that every time there's a disaster, a hurricane hits the South Coast? And so what I want to do today is I want to lay out my plan of threes. And this is something I think about. I think this will really help you. So I'm going to give you 4 threes, 3 of them, or 5. I'm going to give you 5 threes. 4 of them I'll talk about today. The last one is pretty extensive. I'll talk about that in our next podcast episode. So first I want to say this. When I'm thinking prepping, I'm thinking about food, water, and shelter. Those are the 3 major categories I am thinking of. So when it comes to my threes, I want to think about how to obtain those in these 3 time sequences. So the first one is 3 minutes. 3 minutes. So how am I prepared for something that takes 3 minutes? Well, let me tell you what I do. I carry a pocket knife everywhere I go. I carry a cell phone everywhere I go with doctor's numbers in it, with key contacts in it. I have notes in my phone with about medications, about other things that would be needed in a situation that would happen right now. I've got in my car, I've got electrical tape, I have duct tape, I've got a flashlight, glow sticks, I have a blanket, I have basic tools, I have jumper cables, which I use all the time. I've got my trailer hitch stinger is in there. I have other necessities that will help myself and those who are in need, and I use them constantly. And so these take up very little space in your car. If you have a Prius, you can just get a little case and put those things in your Prius. If you've got a truck, I keep them under my seat of my truck. They take very little space, but they help in a situation where you need to help somebody and you've got about 3 minutes. The next time sequence is 3 hours. I'm thinking about things like the electricity goes out in my home on a snowy day, or I'm stranded because maybe there's an avalanche and I can't get over the pass to my home, or I'm snowed in and one of the roads are closed. And that happened recently to me. I had a situation where there was a snowstorm and I couldn't get home and I had to find a different plan or strategy. And so prepared for that 3 hours. Again, this 3 hours, if it's at my house, I've got lamps, oil burning lamps. I have candles, again, a blanket. One of my sons carries a sleeping bag in his car everywhere he goes. Being ready for those situations where I usually carry a beanie. I have a beanie laying around somewhere in case I'm going to have to hunker down for a couple hours. What can you have in your home and in your car that will help you if you get stranded or you have a grid down scenario for 3 hours? Another great thing is to have, I have a solar battery charger, to have some kind of extra battery in case you need it for your phone or something like that. The next time frame I want to talk to you about really has 2 scenarios attached to it. This is the 3 days. So we talked about being ready for 3 minutes. We talked about being ready for 3 hours. Now in this situation, we're in a situation now where we need to be prepared for something that happens where we do not have access to our normal resources for 3 days. Now, I'm going to give you 2 scenarios. The first one is this: if you're in your home and you're in a snowstorm, you're in a hurricane, or you have some kind of a electrical grid down type of situation, it's important to have 3 days worth of food and water. You can buy 72-hour survival kits anywhere. Most people have barely enough food for 3 days. For you go shopping once a week. Why? Because you run out of food. So when you inventory your food, you'll be shocked to know that you probably have way less than what you think. And I think the average person keeps $132 worth of food in their refrigerator. That is not a lot, guys, especially if you have a family of 5 to feed. So I would say things like toilet paper. I would say food for at least, food for 3 days for one person in your home. Enough candles for 3 days. This type of thing. Flashlight batteries for 3 days. A situation where you could charge your electrical devices for 3 days. And so that 72-hour kit is really if you're in a small town or a rural environment. If you live in the city and you have a situation where there is a catastrophe, whether it be an act of God or a grid down scenario or, like we had some kind of outbreak, you need to just get out of the cities. I don't want to be too negative here, but if you live in the cities, you are in trouble. You need to get out of the city. So you need to have a way to get out of the city. I know this sounds crazy, but you should put together what I call a good bag. Good stands for get out of Dodge. Have a bag with 3 days of travel, 3 days of food, 3 days of water, so you can grab that bag and get out of Dodge. Now, for me, I actually have a tote that I keep my stuff in because I'm never sure what's going to happen there. So I have a tote. I can just throw it in my truck if I need to, and that tote has a backpack and sleeping gear, a change of clothes. But if you live in the cities, I'm just telling you right now, strategically, you will just need to get out of the cities. So I know that sounds scary and sketchy, but you need to be ready to leave the city, and you need to have an escape route out of the city. You need to have a place you can go, and you need to be part of being prepared is watching the news and timing it perfectly. My wife was actually in Milan, Italy, when the COVID-19 outbreak broke, and because we live in a prepper mindset, I was able to get her out of there and cut her vacation short, and she got out of there the day before they shut down the whole airport. So that was a game changer for her, and it was because we live a preparedness lifestyle. The next sequence of time is for 3 months. So you need to store food for food, water, and shelter for 3 months. And I'm going to talk about that 2 podcasts from today. So I'm going to outline exactly how I do that. I live on a budget, and I'm going to give you a way to prepare food for 3 months that all you have to do is add water, and this food will last 30 to 40 years in some cases 300 years. So I'll talk to you about that in 2 episodes. And the last one is you need to be prepared in a situation where you have a total grid down thing and it ain't coming back, and you need to be able to live for 3 years without the amenities of today. Now, I know that sounds scary, but I'm going to give you a scenario that'll invigorate you. It'll fill you with faith and empower you to begin the journey to readiness if there's a situation where you need to survive for 3 years without the things that you have today. Guys, if this podcast helped you today, I know it's different than our normal podcast, but if you like this episode, please text the link to one of your buddies. Text it to your children. Text it to your bride. I think it's going to be something that's a game changer for you guys from here on out. Until next time, feel the wet sand on the arena floor. Hear the deafening roar of the crowd. Taste the sweetness of victory. Smell the stench of battle. Get in the game. Get dirty. Grind it out. And be a man.